Hey everyone, welcome back to Absolutely Marvel and DC. My name is Benny, that is Sal, that is Dylan, and we're going to talk about Loki episode 4, but I don't want to spoil this particular episode. Some revelations happened like 7 or 8 minutes in, which made the beginning feel a bit rambly to me. So if you're watching this intro, that means that Dylan spliced it in because he agreed. Here's our review of episode 4 otherwise. So I'm going to say right at the bat, I was wrong apparently. And
so was everybody.
And that makes episode 3 just a really bad episode, in my opinion.
Just weird.
Well, it's just it was a great episode. It did its job. It sacrificed itself for the good of the channel.
Mm-hmm. but then on top of that, that makes this episode even more. So this episode moved real quick, real fast with reveals, subversions, plot moments. Like everything was just rapid fire. To makes me go, why did we stretch out 3 the way we did and reveal nothing? To then back to back reveal Sylvie's origins, reveal how Renslayer is attached to it, reveal how Owen Wilson feels about the whole thing, to reveal to like this time prison, to then Owen Wilson switching over to joining up with Loki, to then going back to Sylvie convincing B-15, to then all of them teaming up to go meet the timekeepers, to then revealing that the timekeepers are actually... first off, worst reverb I've ever heard on a TV show ever, trying to understand those guys.
Yeah, it was really tough to understand them.
That was tough. I was like, what the hell? I had headphones on.
We had subtitles on because Natalie, her first language is French, so we normally have subtitles on our shows.
Sure.
And I'm reading them along with her. I'm like, I can't even understand these guys. Like,
yeah.
Only to then, I don't know. Sal, what did you think about? Let's just take it from the top. What do you think about the episode? Because I feel like I'm trying to not like just give it all away but I feel like the way that this episode just threw everything at us is just going to be a rapid fire discussion of all the points.
Right, and I think that's the way to do it. Because like ultimately, yeah, I when I went into Loki as a show, I was like, man, I think this might be my favorite show, and it's quickly becoming my least favorite show.
Yes, 100%. Like, the amount of reveals in this episode could have easily been spread out over 3 and 4, and it would have felt so rapid. We basically had a full decompression episode to a shotgun blast of everything.
Right. Right. And usually in, like, the formula for these kinds of things, it's in the other order, which is kind of cool, but also, I don't know. I understand why none of the things that happened in this episode happened in the last episode, because... I don't think you can have any of those things happen without the next thing, and waiting a week for any of those reveals, especially multiples of them, is asking a lot. So it's like it's funny because the last episode was shorter than all the other episodes, and as a result, like it shows like they almost didn't have an episode. It
feels weird, and I feel like the TV show format. This is one of the situations where the TV show format is hurting the show.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm glad that they're just picking randomly numbered episodes. It wasn't like the Netflix model where it's like, just make as many, like, this number, every show, doesn't matter if anybody cares or wants to watch it, this is the number.
Or wants to watch it.
Yeah. I'm looking at you, Iron Fist.
Dylan, what did you think? So I think you're changing your color settings or something, because I see your eyes looking around for something.
No, I'm having internet problems, and I'm making sure that it's not affecting the actual recording.
Okay. See, when my eyes go somewhere else, you guys know that I'm either checking chat for live or playing a video game. When Dylan does it, I'm like, he's working. Look at that brain go.
I'm just trying to figure out what the source of the problem was, but I think the recording is fine. If it's not, then here's your reason why the recording looks funky.
Right.
But I like this episode. Honestly, I disagree that this is like taking the show like downhill. I think the last episode was far worse than this one. I feel like we're kind of back on track here. I
do agree with that. I think it sounded like I hated it, but I do agree. I did like this episode. Just it's weird with the last episode. But I'm sorry.
Yeah. Like the front half of this episode, like the first like 20 minutes of this episode should have been the last 20 minutes of the previous episode. And there's no reason why they couldn't have done that. They could have literally just tacked it on to the last episode and then cut at a certain point. But I enjoyed this episode. I thought like I said, like it's a lot of what we should have gotten last episode. I don't know why they decided to dedicate all of that time to basically nothing in the previous episode.
I think they did that just because Loki has a character turn in this episode, and it's wholly unjustified based on what we got in the last episode. But without the last episode, it is 100% just just non-existent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, and this is the most Disneyification I think of any character right now, where it's like, oh, they're in love.
See,
were
they
they for
though?
2 minutes, and now they're in love with each other.
Were they though? Because he didn't get to say what it was at the end of the episode when he was going to reveal.
We know what it was.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was.
Are we really
going to
go there that Loki loves himself? Like,
I mean, like, at least putting a lampshade on it, having no one else be like, "That's gross." I'm like, "Yeah, that is gross."
I think that's honestly that's why it works for me. I like it because if it was anything else, and this is where the show is kind of like tripping over itself at this point with the Sylvie character entirely, because like if we're to believe the show at face value, then she is a Loki. But we still don't have
I'm starting to believe that too. I'm
Right,
starting to believe
I am
that
too.
But they are still implying there's something else because Renslayer won't tell her. So there's something else to it.
We also we don't know why she changed her name to begin with, and we don't know why she changed her name to Sylvie.
No.
So there's still like mystery there, but if we are to believe the show at face value, then she is a Loki, which is contrary to like when I first saw her, I talked about this, that I didn't think she was a Loki based on her appearance, and I still don't think she sells that very well.
No, I don't think so either. I think it actually kind of ruins the character to an extent if she's just a Loki variant, because it's just a boring answer to a lot of it, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think she definitely is still a Loki. I think it's just kind of like no one. It's funny how like once they release one of these shows, everyone has like a theory, and that theory is usually a little better than what they did, or it's like a little bit. It just pushes it a little bit further. Like, I'm not asking for a lot, but I mean, I don't think we're going to get an explanation as to why she picked the name Sylvie. I don't think we're going to see like more about the Nexus outside of like a very superficial explanation of like,
what happened?
You caused the apocalypse of XYZ. You caused the you caused the downfall of the TVA, something like that. I don't know, but
I think Sylvie is she's gonna end up being what's his name from Falcon and Winter Soldier, Elijah, right?
Yes.
The same kind of thing where it's like they threw this character that has a comic book source at us and didn't fully explain it.
Nope.
And we got more than we did with Elijah in Falcon and Winter Soldier, but still there was never a point like in that show where we got the full dump of it. And I think that's going to be the same deal here, is we're just not going to get because you have to think like there's 2 more episodes, and the mid-credits scene of this episode is completely like propelling the show in a different direction now. So they've got
had
a lot to
mid-credits
cover.
or once?
Was there a mid-credits scene? I didn't see one.
There was. It was
far-
big.
How far in was it? Because like I literally let the credits roll.
I scrolled across the thing. I looked.
See,
I
wanted to bring this up because they need to stop. They need to knock it off with these.
Either do it or not.
Yeah, exactly. Do it for everyone or don't do it at all, because this is exactly the problem.
Because like I let the credits roll. Like, all right, cool. I'll let the credits roll because I normally do, and they'll save something. But they're also like 7-minute credits.
Right.
Yeah. And they're TV credits, so it's like, and then the credits in another language. Like,
it was before that point. It's after the very admittedly very cool
44:40. Sal.
All right, I'm looking.
Go ahead and watch.
I'm freeze framing on that ending.
Oh
that
my
is
god. What?
Cool,
the
right?
costume of the old man. Can we just comment on the costume of the old man?
That's awesome.
It's
They
perfect.
made a comic accurate costume for Loki.
Why
And
is
these are
this
all
a
the Lokis.
mid-credit scene?
I don't know. I'm at the
awesome.
point now where I'm ready to put my foot in the sand and say I don't like post-credit scenes anymore. I'm tired of them. It's
They're
gone
ruining
too far.
them.
I like them, but like, tell us. Like,
Right.
either do
Or
it or
don't
don't.
put it this far
Telegraph
in.
it some way.
If they play,
The way that I find out is I go on the subreddit and I look at the discussion thread, and somebody always, like the moderator at the top comment, says there is or isn't like a post or mid-credit scene, and I look at that before I turn the show off. And this time there was something.
I don't. because it's like 5 minutes into the credits. Like Invincible at least did it well, where it was like, oh, the show's over. Oh no, it's not. Before I could
it's like
turn
10 more
off,
minutes of show.
Right.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like before I had time to get the remote up and like, all right, we're done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Marvel's like, the credits are 10 minutes long, and there may or may not be one. I'm still not watching the Marvel. I'm just gonna stop watching your show.
Right.
And even with this one, this is what I was upstairs on like just watching this on the TV, and I didn't have a remote handy, and the credits started playing, and we started discussing the show. So the credits played for like 3 or 4 minutes while we were talking about that reveal at the ending.
Yeah.
Which like, I honestly I kind of want to give the show credit for at least not holding back the very obvious reveal that Loki isn't dead. Like they didn't hold that back longer than they needed to. But again, it was in a mid-credit scene. Like that's pretty big. It was my same problem with the first mid-credit scene that I missed in WandaVision was the White Vision reveal. I had no idea that was a thing.
Yeah. They need to stop
that.
This is just terrible. This is not. They need to stop doing it because they're arbitrarily deciding when to start putting them back in.
Right.
And that's the thing. Like, don't just if it's Loki, if it's the show, there's a post-credit scene at the end of the last episode.
Yeah,
Sure.
do that. Do that. I'll take that. If you want to, last episode will always have a post. Okay, cool. You know what I mean? Like, Marvel set a precedent that every movie has a mid and post-credit scene, and now the shows are like they have them when we want to put them in.
Right. And they even if they don't have anything to show, there's usually like something there. Like at the end of Endgame, there was the like, you know, the special
sound
like
effect.
the noise of him like banging the hammer. It was just like an homage to the first movie. But there was at least something there, even though it was really nothing. But like here, it's literally nothing up until suddenly, hey, there's a post-credit scene now.
Yeah, and it's a huge one. And what's funny is I forgot entirely until we saw the close-up. I'm like, oh, it's the he won. You know, it's the destroyed. You know, there's Avengers Tower and it's wrecked, and we saw that in the trailer for Loki in the first place. So,
because I still haven't seen the trailer, but I've seen like one image that I've seen, like when I look up Loki for thumbnails and stuff. Sometimes is the vote Loki like reference.
Well,
and I know we haven't gotten there yet. But now we're clearly going there.
Oh my God, yeah.
Okay, so let's look at let's start here since I have this up and it's fresh right now. And I know I apologize to our viewers. Our review episode's kind of all over the place today because I wanted to talk about how like I didn't like how it did reflected on 3 and now 4 is much better. But too much happened in 4 in my opinion. That doesn't make it a bad episode. Just too much happened to process. Yeah. So we got Kid Loki, super classic.
Kid Loki.
What is it? Kid Loki.
I'm just
and
excited
the
about Kid Loki. He's my favorite.
Kid Loki, Old Loki, and Black Loki.
And an alligator
What's Black
Loki.
Loki from? Yeah, an alligator.
Yeah, an alligator Loki.
What is Black Loki from? That's got to be from something.
I don't know.
They've used a Loki from everything at this point. You know what I mean? Like we've got female Loki, Kid Loki, Old Loki.
The two that I recognize there are Kid Loki and like old classic Loki, and that's because there is a storyline where young Loki meets up with future old man, like fully evil version of himself, which is the old Loki, and Kid Loki, which represents everything good about himself, and he's like torn between them. I think he ends up killing both of them, but like those two are like, I doubt they're gonna go that direction with either because there's too much like story there, but it's fun that we're getting at least nods to them.
Yeah.
And also that costume is just fantastic.
Yeah. I love seeing it. It's amazing. I also want to know who that actor is. Like, who are these people?
Yeah.
Is that Jeffrey Rush, please?
So let's go back a little bit because when they killed off Owen Wilson, I was like, oh, I guess like all of our favorite stuff of the back and forth between Owen Wilson and Loki is over.
Yeah.
But then when they killed Loki, Natalie, my wife, was like, oh, wait, they're killing Loki? Dead. I'm like, yeah. So that basically says Owen Wilson will be back as well. Like that.
Right. Yeah. Oh, de-resing is not real. Okay.
That was my exact thought process because I noticed when they were talking about killing them, they were specifically saying pruning, and that was the first thing where I was like, okay, that means something else. And then they pruned Mobius, and I was like, oh, okay, they're probably going somewhere else. And then they pruned Loki. It's like, okay, yeah, you're not going to kill your main character. Sylvie is not like
taking over.
Yeah, she's not taking over this show for the remaining 2 episodes.
I mean, no offense to her, but I just don't think her character's strong enough to carry the show at this point. We barely have anything about her. I actually hated her origin. I actually really dislike the idea that, like, oh, she was normal. The TVA showed up. She immediately got away. And she's been running for 30 years. I'm like,
I was like, wow.
Yeah, I was like, that's it? That's the history?
Because isn't Loki like 1,200 years old? So she's been running for 1,200
for a long time.
years.
Yeah.
At a minimum, the actress, I think, is between like 35 to 40. So at a minimum, 25 years. She's just been running from this one incident with the TVA.
Right, but then she should be a child by comparison to Loki, who has a good like 900-year head start on this person. Like, but they don't want you to think about that.
Yeah,
I get it.
There's magic involved. They could age faster at the beginning of their life. Who knows? But it's a whole
But what I'm
thing.
saying is, I just felt like she was setting up like, oh, something with my mom and the postman and my love interest and all. And I was like, okay, there's probably like a good amount of history with her. There's a good amount of motivation to make her go against the TVA. Her motivation, it honestly, I mean, I love Doctor Who, but it felt like a flimsy Doctor Who villain. Oh, you did this one thing to me, so for my entire life, I've been looking for a way to get back at you.
Right.
That's it? That's the plot? Like,
pretty weak. Pretty weak. But I got, yeah. This helps me out a lot. I was like, oh, like that got me more excited about what happened as opposed to like Owen Wilson gets back into the show. Immediately, show gets to be 200% better.
Yep.
yeah, it did.
Agreed.
100%.
His energy, his motivation, his character, I'm like, I'm in. I'm more in. And it's funny because it's a Loki show and I love Hiddleston and I would watch a show of him just reading the phone book, but like apparently not, because if you put him with anybody else, it was like, well, it's not so great. But he immediately like hits the ground running. The show gets the show gets more fun and more interesting. And of course we're back at the TVA, which is more interesting anyway.
I loved his back and forth with Loki right away. His interrogation, where he lied to him, saw his face, and then the whole like, oh, your face, you like her.
Good stuff. Yeah, real acting. I was like, this is great. This is fun. But then we get rid of Owen Wilson. We get rid of the big reveal. Like we change the whole thing, and it's like, okay, well, who's behind it? Probably Kang. But like again, I'm sure Marvel wants us to think that so that we can Mephisto this up.
Sure.
And then it'll be a big stupid joke at the end because that's what they'll do. A big Grandmaster. He'll be like,
my theory right
there
now-
on time. Yeah.
My
It'll be
theory right
Loki.
now is that
Yeah.
that's what I think. I think it's President Loki. I think that scene from the trailer, which everyone see because that's the clip floating around.
Yeah.
And for the record, Dylan, that's all the scene is in the trailer. You're not missing anything.
Sure.
He literally shows up and goes, "What did what did you expect?" or something like that. And I feel like that's the scene. That is the reveal.
I think our Loki is President Loki. I think that like he gets caught up to. I think we're gonna open with another flashback explaining who Sylvie is more, and then we're gonna get like. Some time has passed in this like crazy future or this crazy alternate timeline, and Loki will be like in charge of the marauders of this wasteland.
It could also definitely be just. I could see that for sure, like sort of a Planet Hulk reference to a degree.
Yes.
But I could also see like similar with, because I know the DB Cooper stuff was in the trailer, and everyone thought that was going to be something bigger than it was. I could definitely see them just being like, this is the next episode, like, this is where all the variant Lokis go. There was also this, like, one guy, like, they do, like a montage of different Lokis, and one of them is President Loki. And it's just that clip, and that's all it is. But it could be anything. But, at this point, we probably should talk about the timekeepers, because they kind of turned, there's another big reveal that they're not a thing.
They Wizard of Oz us.
Yeah,
Wizard of
Robots.
Oz.
Which is interesting. I'll admit I didn't see that coming. I saw like obviously something was up with them and everything wasn't what it seemed, but I didn't think we'd see them directly this early.
No.
And I didn't think that they would be robots.
No, I don't think anybody saw that coming. Although it's funny because like it kind of brings in the anti-robot metal detector thing.
Yeah,
like,
I thought that
there's only
as
room
well.
for 3 robots. But I it's funny. I should have seen it coming. Not that they were robots, but like that it's all bullshit because they're not based off of anything. They're just three randos. Like, and Marvel's not ashamed or afraid of doing that, where it's like, it's the living tribunal, and it's a robot, you know? Mm-hmm. And somewhere Rob is screaming. But, like, I'm actually glad that if it's going to be, like, a throwaway, they're robots, that it is, like, just a made-up thing of, like, three randos. That, by the way, looked kind of fun. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I didn't like their choice in the reverb. It was way too heavy.
Yeah, I couldn't understand a damn thing they were saying.
They looked cool,
Yeah.
though.
The overall effect was cool, but I couldn't understand them. If subtitles weren't on, I wouldn't even know what they said.
No.
You know, like, because they were all, I mean, I hate to sound like an idiot, but they were also using big words. And when you're adding a bunch of reverb to it, I'm just sitting there like, what is he saying?
They're the timekeepers. They have to talk like that.
Yeah. They've been around for a long time, learned a lot of words.
What do you guys feel about the whole as Sylvie is able to unlock B-15's memory, she unlocks C-20's memories, but Renslayer seems to know what's going on, but is basically telling everyone to screw off, and we're going to go with this.
Yeah, I don't know. Does she know they're robots?
I think she probably does, because that character does have a comic source, and I haven't looked fully into it, but I know she has a connection to Kang in some way.
Okay.
So I imagine if Kang is still the being who's pulling all the strings, that she's the only one that's in on it, and she's like Kang is.
I don't think they're going to use Kang though. We've heard nothing about Kang at this point, and he's already been announced for Quantum.
I don't know.
Whatever.
They cast Kang, and the show's about time travel.
Yeah, like it.
Maybe he's the post-credit scene.
Maybe.
Maybe we'll have a fleck of Doctor Strange floating in.
Oh my god!
I have more faith in Kang being in this show than I did in Mephisto being in WandaVision.
Totally.
But at this point, yeah, I'm definitely I'm less on board with the Kang train, because I was also very confident that Sylvie was not a Loki, and now that's up in the air. So
totally.
I think they're just gonna leave it alone. Just be like, she's a Loki. Her name is Sylvie. We're calling her Sylvie because we don't want to have two people being called Loki.
Yep.
Right.
And that's the end of it. I don't think they're gonna go into it or anything like that. I think it was just a fun nod to the comic fans. Like, here's the other one. You know what I mean? Like, and that's
Sylvie fans are screaming at their screens right now.
Yeah, both of them are so pissed.
Both.
That's going to be me when Spider-Woman eventually gets adapted and it's nothing to do with anything Jessica Drew.
I'm sorry, man, but Avi Arad going to practically direct that movie. That movie is done from the get-go.
Oh boy. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really know where they're going at this point, but I was very worried before the mid-credit scene. And then the mid-credit scene happened and I was like, "Oh, okay. So something we're going to get we're going to have fun for the next 2 episodes."
Same here. I was really worried about the show.
Yeah,
and
you saved
you guys
it for
showed
me
me
right
this
now.
I'm like, oh!
No, not you guys. He showed it to me too.
Right.
No, it's true. Yeah, we both. I think
I want to
Dylan
throw
saved
one
the
last
show.
thing in there because I actually kind of disliked the whole Loki's gonna love Loki, and I love they kind of hinted at that at the beginning where I have to love myself. But I feel it's kind of like I don't know if female Loki, Sylvie, Enchantress, whatever you want to call her, turns out to be she had a nexus, they pulled her away, and she's been running this whole time, and then when she came back, she's immediately the love interest for the other Loki. I just feel like they've created such a boring character overall. Like, she's basically just an angsty teen at this point.
She's less angsty than that teenage girl from Jupiter's Legacy. Like, that was insufferable.
That's true.
But I hear what you're saying, and I agree at the very least that I don't care about Sylvie's journey. But then again, I'm not tuning into a Sylvie show. You know what I mean? Like, I'm watching Loki, and stop telling me that she's Loki, and that's okay, and then it's okay to shunt across the character that I'm here to watch with this other character and go she's just as good. By the way, that mid-credit scene. Just another aside, the fact that we missed it means a lot of people must have missed it.
Yeah.
And I'll bet there's at least a handful of YouTube channels that are super angry where they're like, "Oh my god, they killed him. That means they're going to replace him. Okay, so the Marvel Universe in Phase 5 is just going to be Kamala Khan, Ironheart, female Loki, Jane Foster Thor.
Oh no.
Miles Morales, I'm sure, is going to show up. It's going to be, and I'm like, that's awesome.
You're not wrong. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
No.
But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the episode right there. We're excited to see where it's going to go. All of my ideas are... Okay, so now my crazy theory, President Loki is the guy behind the curtain.
Right.
That's my crazy theory.
yours.
I know what you're saying, and it could be a one-off, Dylan.
Yeah.
But I have to have a crazy theory for it to be wrong next week.
That's true. Yeah.
Next week, the reveal's going to be of one day. I'm pulling a Rob strategy here.
Yes.
I just got everything on a whiteboard, and one day I'm going to be right. And you're going to hear me go, oh, let me tell you.
Yes. Let me tell you something, man.
But I hope you guys enjoyed our recap and a live viewing of the post-credit scene.
Right. You're welcome, by the way.
Thanks.
My name is Benny, that is Sal, and that is Dylan, and we are absolutely Marvel at DC. We'll see you real soon with another recap of these episodes.